Hello children, we are discussing the chapter first of chemistry, that is matter in our surroundings. In the previous video we discussed certain topics. The first one is what is matter. Anything which has a certain mass and occupies a space is known as matter. So the two conditions necessary for something to be a matter, दो conditions जो किसी चीज को चाहिए वो एक matter हो सके, वो है उस चीज का एक फिक्स मास होना चाहिए. that thing, that object, that substance must have a fixed mass, and the second is it must occupies a space. It must have a certain volume. Next we have discussed the characteristics of matter. The matter is made up of very small particles. The particles of matter are tiny. The particles of matter have interparticles force of attraction between them. The particle of matter have interparticle space in between them, and the particles of matter keep on moving continuously. These properties along with their activities we have discussed in our previous lecture. Now we'll discuss certain properties, certain questions. The first one is why a swimmer able to dive into water. When we swim in water, then when we dive into the swimming pool, then we'll go in the water. But if we take a hard floor, a solid floor, that is not possible. Our hands must be broken off. Why is it so? Because the interparticle force of attraction between the particles of water is less. Due to that less force of attraction, the space between the particles of water is more. So the answer would be due to more interparticle space between the particles of matter. And which matter is here? Water. A swimmer will be able to dive into the pond, into the swimming pool, and does not have any harm to its body. Next we'll study certain terms. The first one is rigid. The rigid means unbending. The substance which does not bend, जो मुड़ता नहीं, उसे rigid बोलते हैं. The substances which do not bend easily are known as rigid. Solids are the examples of rigid substances. There are certain exceptions as well, and we will discuss, but most of the solids are rigid. They do not flow on their own. Next, fluids. Any substance which flow easily is known as a fluid. Any substance which flow easily is known as a fluid. The example of fluids is liquids and gases. Gases and liquids are the two states of matter, are the two matters which can easily flow from their higher concentration to their lower concentration. Now we discuss the classification of matter. But before studying the classification of matter, first we understand the two terms. The first one is kinetic energy. You will study a chapter in your physics syllabus, that is work and energy. In that chapter you will study the term kinetic energy. What is kinetic energy? The energy associated with the motion of an object is known as kinetic energy. Whensoever an object is moving, whensoever an object is in motion, then that moving object has energy, and that energy is known as kinetic energy. जब एक ऑब्जेक्ट मोशन में होता है बच्चे, जब एक ऑब्जेक्ट मूविंग होता है, वेलोसिटी होती है उसकी कुछ, तो जो उसमें एनर्जी होगी, दैट एनर्जी इज नोन एज काइनेटिक एनर्जी. डिफ्यूजन ऑफ एनी सब्सटेंस. Diffusion is the movement of particles from its higher concentration to its lower concentration. जब particles अपनी higher concentration से lower की तरफ move करते हैं, that movement is known as diffusion. Diffusion directly depends on kinetic energy. How? If the particles have more kinetic energy, then their diffusion rate is more. They diffused very easily. They can move from their higher concentration to their lower concentration very easily. But if certain particles have less kinetic energy, then those particles does not move easily. They move or they diffuse very slowly. So kinetic energy is directly related to diffusion. If kinetic energy is high, diffusion is more. If kinetic energy is less, diffusion is less. Next term is density. Mass per unit volume of a substance is known as its density. In a given volume, in a given space, how much particles of a matter can be contained, how much mass of a matter can be contained, that is known as, that quantity is known as density. So mass per unit volume of a substance is known as its density. So density is given as mass divided by volume. That is, density is equals to D is equals to M by V. So density is equals to mass per unit volume. If mass is more, volume is less, the density of that substance is high. That's why the solids have high density. Why? Because the solids particles have more interparticle force of attraction, due to which those particles come closer to each other, the space between the particles reduces and the density of the particles rises. The density of the particles is more as compared to the solid, as compared to the liquids and gases. So this is what the density is all about. The mass per unit volume of a substance is known as density. Now we'll discuss the classification of matter, the physical classification of matter. Physically, the matter is classified into three forms: solid, liquid and gas. We'll discuss the properties of solids, liquid and gas on the basis of certain parameters, on the basis of certain features, out of which the first one is shape. Solids have a fixed shape. Liquids do not have a fixed shape. Obviously, बच्चे, liquids do not have any kind of fixed shape. Liquids change the shape and take the shape of the container in which they are placed. Gases also do not have a fixed shape. They also take the shape of the container. It is a glass bachche and it is a water bottle. The shape of these items, that is the water bottle and the glass, is fixed. These are solids, so they have fixed shape. Whether I place them like here only, their shape remain fixed until we break them. If I drop this glass and break it, then it will change its shape. That is a different issue. This water bottle has water in it. Now the shape of the water is just like the water bottle. And if I pour this water from that water bottle into the glass, you can easily see that the shape of the water is just like the shape of the glass now. जैसे ही बच्चों मैंने इस वाटर बॉटल से पानी इसमें डाला, जो वाटर की शेप है वो ग्लास की शेप जैसी हो गई है. That means liquids do not have a fixed shape. They take the shape of the container. The upper portion of the glass has air in it. This room has air in it. And air also do not have any fixed shape. Second parameter on which will differentiate the solid, liquid and gases is volume. Volume means the space which solid, liquid or a gas occupies. Solids have a fixed volume. They occupy the fixed space, whether they're in my house, whether they are in your house, whether they are in someone else's house. Solids have a fixed shape as well as have a fixed volume. Liquids also have a fixed volume. If you go to the market and buy 1 liter of milk, that 1 liter of milk will remain 1 liter in your house as well. It can change its shape. When you brought a packet, the milk in that packet is just like the shape of the packet. But when you withdraw that milk out of the packet into a container, into a steel container, that will take the shape of the steel container. But the volume of the liquid will remain the same. आप बच्चे दूध के 2 पैकेट खरीद कर लाए, 1 लीटर है वो. आप उस 1 लीटर दूध को ले आए हैं, आपने पैकेट खरीदे 2. तो उसमें जो दूध है 1 लीटर वो पैकेट की शेप का है. पर जब आप उस पैकेट की शेप को कंटेनर में डालेंगे तो मिल्क अपना शेप चेंज कर लेगा, वो कंटेनर की शेप का हो जाएगा. बट the volume which have you purchased is 1 liter will remains the 1 liter. So the volume of liquids will remain fixed, but the shape is not fixed. Whereas gases not have a fixed volume. So solids have a fixed shape as well as fixed volume. Liquids have a fixed volume but do not have a fixed shape. They have an irregular shape. They take the shape of the container. Gases, neither they have a fixed shape nor they have a fixed volume. Third feature on which will differentiate the solid, liquid and gas is interparticle force of attraction. As you all aware, bache, the particles of matter have a force of attraction between them. That force of attraction is known as interparticle force of attraction. And on this interparticle force of attraction, we differentiate solids, liquids and gases. The interparticle force of attraction in solids is maximum. Solids have a maximum interparticle force of attraction. That is why it is not easy to break them. That is why it is not easy to break the iron nail. It is not easy to break the solid surfaces because the particles of solid have more interparticle force of attraction. जितना force of attraction ज़्यादा होगा, उतना वो जुड़े हुए ज़्यादा होंगे और उतना ही उनके बीच में जो जोड़ होगा, जो शक्ति होगी वो ज़्यादा होगी और उन्हें अलग कर पाना इतना आसान नहीं होगा. Next, liquids have a moderate force of attraction. What do you mean by moderate? They have a less force of attraction than solids but more than gases. Liquids के particles का force of attraction solids से कम है but gases के particles से ज्यादा है. And gases have minimum interparticle force of attraction. The gaseous particles tends to repel each other. Gases के particles एक दूसरे से दूर जाते हैं. इसका मतलब उनके बीच का interparticle force of attraction सबसे कम है. Next property is interparticle space. It is exact opposite to interparticle force of attraction. If the interparticle force of attraction is more, the space between the particle is less. And if the interparticle force of attraction is less, if the force of attraction is less, then the space is more. So here the interparticle force of attraction is maximum. So the space is minimum. Due to that space, I cannot be able to pass my finger into the wall. मैं अपनी फिंगर को इस वॉल में से पास नहीं कर पा रहा हूं बच्चे. क्यों? This wall is solid and the solids have more interparticle force of attraction. Due to that more force of attraction, the particles have less space. Due to that less space, we cannot be able to penetrate the wall. Next, liquids, they have a moderate interparticle space. This time this moderate means more than solids and less than liquids. That means their interparticle space is more than solids. Why? Because they have less interparticle force of attraction. Force of attraction कम है solid से, तो space ज़्यादा है solid से. And the gases have maximum interparticle space. And that maximum interparticle space allows me to move my hand into air. That is the NCERT question. Why it is very easier for us to move in air? We are moving in air, bache. I am moving my hand in air. Why is it very easy for me? And I cannot be able to pass my hand into the solid. Why is it so? Because the air has very less interparticle force of attraction. Due to that less force of attraction, the space between the particles of gases or air is more, and a person, an object can easily move into the particles of air. Whereas solids have more interparticle force of attraction. Due to that, a particle cannot be able to penetrate into it. Fifth is compressibility. Compressibility means the particles can be compressed, the matter which can be compressed. Solids do not compress. Why? They do not have any space, bache. The particles of solid do not have any space. If there is space, only then the compressibility is possible. If there is no space, no compressibility is possible, and in this the space is minimum. So solids do not compress. Liquids, they compress, but up to a certain limit. Usually liquids do not compress, but some of the liquids which have very less density, they compress, but their compressibility is very less. And gases, they compress very easily. And you must have heard about the compressed natural gas. The natural gas is a gas, it is compressed, and that compressed natural gas is used as a fuel in the automobiles. So these are the few characteristics on which the solid, liquids and gases are differentiated. The next characteristic, the next parameter on which we differentiate them is fluidity. That whether that matter class can be flow or not. Solids cannot flow, as the interparticle force of attraction is high, so particles of solids cannot be able to move from one part to another. Liquids can flow easily, and gases can flow very easily. Their fluidity rate is more than the liquids. So solids have less fluidity rate, liquids have more fluidity rate than solids, and gases have more fluidity rate than liquids. Next, filling up of a container completely. Solids do not fill a container completely. Solids only take volume equals to their volume when they placed in a container. Solid सिर्फ उतनी वॉल्यूम कवर करेगा जितनी उसकी खुद की वॉल्यूम, वो पूरे कंटेनर में फैलेगा नहीं. ये चौक, अगर मैं ग्लास में चौक डाल दूं तो वो चौक के पार्टिकल पूरे ग्लास में नहीं फैल जाएंगे बेटा, जितना उनका वॉल्यूम है सिर्फ उतना ही वॉल्यूम कवर करेंगे। लिक्विड्स ऑल्सो डू नॉट फिल द कंटेनर completely, but gases fills the container completely. The particles of gases diffuse to each and every part of the container, and that container is completely filled by the gaseous particles. Suppose this is a container, this is a glass. It has a fixed volume, it is empty. This lid of the water bottle is a solid. I place this solid into this glass. This lid only takes up the space equal to its volume. ध्यान से देखें तो नीचे भी खाली जगह है, ऊपर भी। इस सॉलिड के पार्टिकल्स पूरे ग्लास में नहीं फैले, तो सॉलिड्स डू नॉट फिल द कंटेनर कंप्लीटली। ये फिल कब होगा पूरी तरह से? जब मैं इक्वल वॉल्यूम डाल दूं। इक्वल वॉल्यूम कैसे? मैं मिट्टी लूं बच्चे से, पूरा ऊपर तक मिट्टी से भर दूं, तो जो सॉलिड होगा उसका वॉल्यूम और इस ग्लास का वॉल्यूम बराबर होगा, तभी ये भरा जा सकता है। बट अगर मान लो बच्चे इसका वॉल्यूम बराबर है ही नहीं, तो ये सिर्फ उतना ही वॉल्यूम कवर करेगा जितना इसका वॉल्यूम है। सो सॉलिड्स डू नॉट फिल अ कंटेनर कंप्लीटली। लाइकवाइज द लिक्विड्स ऑल्सो डू नॉट फिल द कंटेनर कंप्लीटली। दिस इज अ ग्लास, इट हैज अ फिक्स्ड वॉल्यूम बेटा। I pour liquid in it, some liquid in it. You can see बच्चे, the liquid here only is till this level. Is it visible? Yes. So this level, the water particles does not come at the top. So liquids also, the particles of liquids also do not fill the container completely. ये भरेगा कब? अब बच्चे बोलते हैं सर मैंने तो पूरी बाल्टी भर ली अपनी, I fill my bucket completely. बच्चे, in that case you are filling the equal volume of liquid into the container. Only then it is possible. But it is not that way that if I fill the water in this amount and this water particles will spread in the whole container. No, that is not the truth. Next, gases. It's very easy bachche. Above the liquid there is a gas present. Above the liquid there is an air. So air particles are everywhere in this glass. So gases fills the container completely. Next parameter is kinetic energy of particles. Kinetic energy is the energy associated with the motion of an object is known as kinetic energy. Solid particles kinetic energy is minimum, as they do not have any interparticle space, so the particles cannot be able to move here and there. So their kinetic energy is minimum. Liquids have a moderate kinetic energy and gases have maximum kinetic energy. The particles of gases moves with the maximum kinetic energy. They have more, or the maximum amount of kinetic energy among all these three states. Next is diffusion. As I explained you, kinetic energy and diffusion are directly related. Solids do not diffuse. They diffuse at a very slow pace, at a very slow rate, at a very slow speed. The diffusion in solids is very less. You can't say they do not diffuse. आप ये नहीं कह सकते वो diffuse नहीं होते. अगर बच्चों में ये chalk, if I left these markings as it is on this board for 2 to 3 years, then those chalk particles will diffuse into the green board, and those particles cannot be able to remove easily. Next, liquids, they diffuse, they can diffuse, and they diffuse very easily. It is simple, okay? The gaseous particles kinetic energy is maximum, so they diffuse very easily. The last point is density. solids have maximum density among all these three states. There are exceptions as well. Ice is a solid, but it has less density than water. That is an exception. That's a different case. But usually, generally, solids have maximum density. Gases have minimum density. And liquids have moderate density. What do you mean by moderate? Less than solids, but more than gases. Now we'll discuss some points. The first one is, a rubber band changes its shape when we exert a force over it, but still it is called as a solid. As we had discussed, that solids do not change their shape. They have fixed shape, but still the rubber band, when we stretch it, it changes its shape. It can change its shape easily, but still this rubber band is considered as a solid. How it is possible then? When we exert a force on a rubber band, then layers of the rubber particles stretches over each other. Suppose these are the layers of the rubber particles. This layer has certain particles, enormous millions of particles in it. And those particles are arranged in this manner, in these layered manner. When we exert a force, then these layers will slide over each other. Due to that sliding, the rubber band can be able to stretch. If we exert more force over it, then at some point it will broken down. So that is the reason, being able to be a stretched part or stretched substance, still rubber band is considered as a solid. Now discuss second point, that sugar and salt crystals or sugar and salts are considered as solids, but when they are poured, they are kept in different jars. They take the shape of the jars. But solids do not take the shape of the container, as the sugar and jar containers or the salt containers are like this only. Let us suppose it's a sugar container. The sugar in this container takes the shape of it. Sugar जो इस container के अंदर बिल्कुल इस container की shape की लग रही है, but it is not the truth much. Actually, sugar is found in the form of crystals. Sugar has small crystals. Shape of that crystal, if you see this small crystal here, is it visible? This small crystal has a fixed shape, whether it is in my hand or this crystal is in the jar. So the shape of the salt and sugar crystals remains the same. But they take the space, they take the boundary of the container. That is why, because of this reason, as the crystal's shape will remain same, salt and sugar are considered as solids.